This is Chet Huntley. On a dark gray, barren patch of land a 250,000 miles from where we sit, an American flag literally hangs in an airless void. This flag stands proudly on the moon today because of the dedication, the talent, and hard work of a particular breed of Americans called astronauts. These men who first brought mankind outside the envelope of Earth must indeed possess a quality as rare as the atmosphere on the moon. This is a story about one of the original 7, Captain Walter Schirra, Jr.
What are you doing here, Pete?
You're having dinner with me, remember? Hop in. They told me at the gate you were taking a walk, so I figured you were visiting your old Gemini launching pad.
Well, there are a lot of memories here, Pete.
You think I don't know that? This base was a customer of mine back when you and the other 7 original astronauts were getting dizzy in your first simulator. Well, if you're all finished walking down memory lane, Captain Schirra, we'll take off. Hey, there's your Mercury monument.
Yeah. You know, I really like the simplicity of that. Boy, the program has come a long way in just a few years. First Mercury, then Gemini, and now Apollo. Just look at the changes.
Another trip to the moon. Boy, what I wouldn't give to be part of that fantastic adventure.
Well, Pete, that's what all that training's about. You worked your tail off for years, practicing, training, studying, for the big day. The big day when you're up there in that command module, going through a countdown, waiting for the bolts to blow, then you have liftoff, and that's when you take command.
Yes, Bob. But if you haven't convinced them, what good would another survey do? Well, if you've kept the customer this late, why don't you just ask for the order? Okay, call me later.
Problems?
Oh, none that are unsolvable. That was Bob Michaels, one of my salesmen.
I gather he's having some kind of trouble.
Trouble follows that guy around like a hound dog. You know, I thought he'd be one of my best men, but lately he just hasn't been hacking it.
Now, once again, if we take these figures and put them with the other set, you'll see how much we save in labor costs.
Haven't we gone through all this before?
Well, I just wanted to be sure you understand the importance of these figures, Mr. Stanton.
Mr. Michaels, we've been going at it now for about an hour. My wife's waiting dinner for me, and all you've done to this point is pump me full of a lot of statistics.
Well, I assume he was properly trained.
Well, not exactly like an astronaut, but good enough for a salesman.
Hey, now, wait a minute. There are a few basic rules we learn in the space program that apply to any man, no matter what his career is.
Oh, come on, Wally. You can't compare your training with that of a salesman.
Why not?
Well, I mean that.
It's learning how to take command. Isn't that what you're expecting Bob Michaels to do right this minute?
Now tell me exactly, what can your company do for my company?
Well, we can save you money.
Mr. Michaels, I have a proposal from your competitor that can save us the same amount of money. What else can you do?
Well, we can service you.
Michaels, a company today has got to service its customers or it doesn't stay in business. What else?
I told you about our special features.
You told me a lot of things, Michaels, but you haven't told me what I want to hear.
Well, if you'll just give me a few more minutes,
No. No, I'm sorry. I just don't think we can do business together. But thanks for coming in.
Well, thank you, Mr. Stanton. Thank you for your time.
Quite all right. Quite all right.
You say this Michaels is a loser?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, he's got one foot out the door right now.
Well, send him to me in Denver for, about 3 days. Let me go to work on him.
I don't know.
What have you got to lose? If it works, you'll have a winner on your hands. Come on, Pete, I want to prove that these basic rules will work with any salesman. What do you say?
Okay, Captain Schirra. But let me warn you, this is one mission that may not get through the countdown.
Good morning, Captain Schirra. I'm Bob Michaels.
Hello, Bob. Welcome to Denver.
Thank you very much. Hey, this is quite a wall. Wow.
Yeah, that one over there is kind of fun for me. Each of the events in the space program are sort of logged in on magazine covers, so as you can see, I've covered the wall.
Yeah, sure.
This one over here is, I think, one of my very favorite paintings. It has all the vehicles I've ever flown, and my most exciting photograph is this one over here of Apollo 7 during the launch countdown, and you can see the spotlights illuminating the booster in case there's a leak or some other problem such as that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Bob, you're going to be with me now for 3 days, morning, noon, and night. I hope in that 3 days that I can teach you something about the space program, at least answer your questions about it. In addition, tell you how the space program and what I've learned from it applies to salesmanship. Okay, now, what's on your mind?
Well, there is one question I've been dying to ask you, Captain Schirra. When you're in space, how do you,
Okay, I won't answer that one yet, but I would like to ask you a couple of questions first, and then maybe we can talk some more about that. What do you know about my space program background?
Are you kidding? I think I can recite it from memory. Commander of the Mercury capsule that went 6 orbits, commander of the Gemini 6 that came within 1 foot of linking up with the Gemini 7, commander of Apollo 7, the first manned mission in the Apollo program.
I believe it. You've done your homework. You notice what you used on each of the 3 flights? Commander. I was trained to take command to the best of my ability for these missions. That's what I hope to teach you, how to take command.
Take command? Of what?
Take command of almost anything. Take command of your territory. Take command of your career. Take command of your personal life.
And you're going to teach me that in 3 days?
I don't know if I can teach you that in 3 days, but I can give you the tools, and the rest is up to you. Let's assume that this Apollo model is a complete salesman. As you can see, this spacecraft is divided into a number of sections. Each one has its own function. Now, this is the first stage. And it has to do with your ability to handle yourself under any and all conditions. Do you think you're a good salesman?
You want the truth? Well, let me put it this way. If I were an astronaut, my mission would get hijacked to Cuba.
I know where to start with you. It's a matter of confidence.
Well, speaking of confidence, I have a question, Captain Schirra. How does it feel to be sitting in a space capsule on top of $50 million worth of equipment that all went to the lowest bidder, huh?
Okay. On that note, you're going to buy lunch.
You're on.
Why are we stopping here? I want to explain something to you, Bob. Have you ever flown a plane?
Me? I'm lucky I can ride a bicycle.
Well, believe it or not, pilot training is basically training yourself to use all of your faculties to the highest possible degree. And this is one of the basic rules you can apply to selling, Bob. We call it R&R.
Now, what's that?
Instant reaction, controlled response. Most of us are capable of instant reaction. Call it being alert, if you will. Imagine two different men piloting a fighter plane. Each discovers a fire in the cockpit. Both react instantly, but one man ejects. He saves his own life. He loses a $3 million airplane that the taxpayers paid for. The second man controls his response. Perhaps he can smother the fire by shutting off a valve. He may also have to eject, but not before he controlled his response long enough to weigh the situation.
Do you think that applies to my selling?
Oh, I bet it does. How many times has a customer thrown a tough sales objection at you?
Is there any other kind?
Okay. So you're ready to react the second he hits you with it. Now, if you're a professional salesman, you hear and understand the nature of the objection. That's instant response, the first R. But if you hold back a minute before you answer the objection, if you take the time to answer in such a way that you continue to control the direction of that meeting, that's the second R, controlled response.
R&R. That's something worth remembering.
Now let's go look at some films.
Oh, it's sales training film?
Oh, in a way. Bob, I want you to go through these films of various space missions. Maybe you can get some sales ideas from those.
Do you mind if I ask a few questions about space as we go along?
Oh, not at all. Go ahead.
Tell me, what happens during liftoff? Does your body suddenly get very heavy or what?
The booster weighs the same, the power is the same, but as the booster accelerates, it is burning off all this fantastic amount of fuel, which makes it weigh a lot less. So you, in essence, get heavier, and you get squeezed back into that couch to where it really is straining against you. So you really become much heavier just before you achieve weightlessness, and then you weigh nothing.
I imagine the crew is very busy during liftoff.
Oh, you better believe it. That's what it's all about. With all the training we've had, all the simulations we've had, we train for every contingency. That's the true what-if world. Now, the what-if principle really means, what if one of the engines fails to ignite? What if we lose our oxygen supply and our cabin pressurization? What if the spacecraft goes out of control? These are the what-ifs.
Well, I see. You've gotten to know your job so well that you're able to cover any possible situation.
Right. You see how that can apply to sales?
I sure can. What if the customer says he's got a better price from my competitor? What if he tells me that our products don't meet his specifications? What if he gets a phone call in the middle of the meeting?
You've got to start training yourself, Bob. You've got to be prepared for every contingency. You've got to practice the what-ifs, so you're ready for any circumstance.
I see.
Come on, we got a meeting with Chuck Wilson. I'll turn this off.
Okay.
And if we can just get this idea across, I think that we can sell them on it. Well, what do you think?
Makes a lot of sense.
What do you think, Bob?
What? You don't want an opinion from me. I don't know anything about your company yet.
Do you see some holes in Chuck's presentation?
Well,
You want to see him make the sale?
yes, but...
Don't let him lose the sale because you want to be polite. Have the guts to tell him what you really think.
Well, okay. Look, I'm probably sticking my neck out a mile, but what if they don't agree that these figures are correct?
Well, they have to. We have proof.
Yes, but what if they have had another survey taken and they've come up with different answers? Won't that make your whole sales picture fall apart here?
That is only an assumption.
Have you got any other facts to support this?
I'm sure that I can get some.
Okay, then I think we do have a weakness there. Let's get some facts so we can support it from at least two directions. Then we can't get shot down.
What if I can't get the presentation ready until tomorrow?
That's a what if it doesn't exist, Chuck, right?
It will be ready in the morning.
I'll never forget this one. I'm going to mentally prepare myself for every customer meeting with every what if I can think of.
You thought I gave Chuck a hard time today, didn't you? Well, you don't get second chances. You don't get second chances in space, and you don't get second chances here on Earth. We're going to make that sale tomorrow, and you helped by throwing those what-ifs at Chuck.
Well, I just hope I didn't make an enemy.
He'll thank you for it when those same questions come up tomorrow. Well, tonight you're on your own. Do you think you can stay out of trouble?
I've got so many what-ifs to think about for next week's meetings. I'll be lucky if I get dinner. You know, Wally, I learned a lot about selling today.
So did I. So did I. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, Wally.
Say, I want to show you some of my space souvenirs if you're interested.
Oh, I sure am.
Well, this is one of my early favorites from the lovely Apollo room. Here's how we took pictures of those cut-ups. This was our Hasselblad camera.
Yeah.
And as you can see, it looks kind of crummy. Well, we stripped off all the non-functional externals to save weight. This is where you see all those original great pictures we got from space.
Yeah.
Of course, this
Very
one's still in
beautiful.
orbit, I understand.
Is that really?
Yeah, I think it was Gemini 4. They lost it on the Ed White flight. This is a piece of our Apollo 7 heat shield. See the black on the bottom, and it gets lighter and lighter as it gets up to here.
Oh, I see.
Well, the lighter brown part is the base of the cabin wall. But the external surface is the bottom of the black. Now, outside, it gets up to about 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit.
3,000?
3,000. Now, inside the spacecraft, just this little layer, inside the spacecraft, it's about 80 degrees. So it's perfectly living, fine environment. Well, Bob, we have a busy day ahead. You've got to attend this presentation that Chuck is giving. I'd like to have you join me at this luncheon address I'm giving. And later this afternoon, I think we can take some time off and enjoy ourselves a little bit.
All right, fine, Captain. But first, I want to ask you a question.
Not that again.
No, it's not that. It's just, I've been thinking about what you said yesterday. You know something? You would have made a great salesman.
Hey, listen, Bob. Let me tell you something. All of the original 7 astronauts had to be salesmen, as well as test pilots and engineers. In fact, I can recall one time we had to work on the civilian engineers to install a window in the Mercury spacecraft. This was a $500,000 decision, and we had to make it.
Was it really that important?
Bob, without that window, we couldn't have effected the final phase of rendezvous with the LEM and the command module.
Say, I remember. You proved that with Gemini 6. That was a tough donkey maneuver, wasn't it?
About 20 feet. Yeah, we're sitting up here playing bridge together. We're formation with 7. Everything is go here. Roger. Congratulations. Excellent. Thank you. It was a lot of fun. I'm often asked if an astronaut experiences fear at the moment of liftoff. The answer, gentlemen, is no. If there's anything we've learned in the space program, it is to train out fear. When my crew and I were assigned to the Apollo 7 mission, a lot of people thought that we would have this fear. We had just lost 3 good friends in a terrible tragedy. Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee. But the space program had to move on, and I can assure you that we were not fearful at any point in that flight. Nor was Jim Lovell and his crew of Apollo 13 when they endured a mishap that could have cost them their lives. You don't have to be an astronaut to learn how to train out fear. When the unexpected happens to you, and it will, fear won't help you out of your problems. You must learn to train out fear and replace it with mild apprehension. Then you can take action to eliminate the cause of that fear.
Now tell me exactly what your company can do for my company. You've told me lots of things, Michaels, except one thing. What else can you do? I just don't think we can do business together. I just don't think we can do business together. I just don't think we can do business.
Fear is a luxury we cannot afford. Panic is next. And I can assure you, gentlemen, that commanding a spacecraft requires no more of a man than the proper control of every element in his life. The man who learns to take command of every situation that confronts him truly takes command of his own future. Thank you.
Bob, how'd you like that ride? That's great. Haven't ridden a horse in years. Yeah, but Pete Jenkins isn't going to think that this is part of my sales training.
Well, this is what you call think time. Every salesman needs that. What else did you want to talk to me about?
Well, this is business about training out fear. You know, you really hit home with that point.
Well, if you don't learn to train out fear, Bob, all of a sudden that adrenaline starts pouring up in your body and you're helpless.
It's happened to me more times than I care to remember. You know, even before I call on a prospect, I can feel the fear building up. How do you get rid of that?
Well, first find the cause. Is it a lack of confidence in the product, the people who make it? Does fear help?
It never helps anybody.
True. At liftoff, we know exactly what's going to happen. We've been trained as well as a man can be trained. And what's most important, we know that everyone involved in the mission has to put mind and body and soul into making sure that that mission will be a total success. You see if that applies to your job?
I think so. Of course I do. I have to have the same confidence in the products I sell.
Not just the products or services, but the people that stand behind them. The research and development team, the engineers, the production people, and your own management. That's what trains out fear.
What are we doing here?
This is one of my very favorite places. I wanted to share it with you. I was thinking, no matter how beautiful this planet looks from space, it can never match what we're looking at right now.
Wally, I want to ask you something. Do you miss not being the first man to set foot on the moon?
Not really. You see, Bob, I was there. We were all there. John Glenn, Gordo Cooper, Al Shepard, Scott Carpenter, Deke Slayton, Gus Grissom, and myself. We were there when it started. Everything we did from our first day in the program helped Neil Armstrong to make that historic first step.
How did you feel when you saw Neil Armstrong descending from the capsule?
How did I feel? I felt proud. All I could think of was, thank God we made it.
Okay, Neil, we can see you coming down the ladder now. Okay, I just checked getting back up to that first step. That isn't collapsed too far, but it's adequate to get back up. The limb footbeds are only depressed in the surface about 1 or 2 inches. I'm going to step off the limb now. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Bob, there's one principle that will work for you no matter what you do in life. I guess you'd call it the power of pride.
Oh, I can understand that in an astronaut. You have something to hang your pride on, but my job...
Especially in your job. Think about it. What does pride mean to a salesman? I'm not talking about vanity. I mean genuine pride in the fact that you're the man in your territory who represents all the good your company can do. And how about pride in the products you sell, or your company's reputation? And most of all, Bob, Pride in yourself. Knowing that your company made the right decision when they picked you to represent them. That's the power of pride. Bob, I think you're going to be a great salesman.
You know something? I believe you.
Hey, come on, we got a big day ahead of us tomorrow.
All right. Well, what's on the docket for this morning?
This morning, you've got a job for your own company.
Oh?
Pete Jenkins just called. Do you know, Fred Bertram?
I sure do. I've been trying to get him to listen to a presentation for almost 3 months.
Well, today's your lucky day. Mr. Bertram's in town, and you're going to meet with him at 2 p.m.
You're joking. You're not joking.
It's about time we see whether these astronaut sales techniques are working for you. I'll see it, too.
And so, Mr. Bertram, these graphs tell the whole story. You have the supporting documents in front of you. They will prove that this system will work for you.
That's very interesting, Mr. Michaels. You do understand, however, that your statements don't agree with the government survey of 2 years ago.
That's correct, Mr. Bertram. However, just yesterday, we presented our findings to Mr. Richards, the director of that division, and he concurs that conditions have changed sufficiently that our facts are much more contemporary than the report you're referring to. You may check with him if you like.
I see.
Are there any other questions?
No, you seem to have documented everything from 2 or 3 different angles. This has been quite a revelation. Suppose we set a meeting next week back home. How does Monday suit you, Mr. Michaels?
Monday suits me just fine, Mr. Bertram. Good old R&R. Instant reaction, controlled response.
Which simply means think before you answer. And make sure that that answer will help you make that sale.
The what-if principle. That one came in handy today.
It'll work every day. Never call on a prospect till you've asked yourself all of the what-ifs.
Train out fear. That doesn't happen overnight.
But you made a good start. So you know you can do it. The power of pride.
You taught me that, Wally. Better than I ever learned before.
It's there in all of us, although we're often embarrassed to admit it. And this one is what it's all about, Bob.
Take command. I failed to do that in my territory. I made all the right moves, but that's about all. But from now on, it's going to be different. I promise you.
Well, Bob, you're going to go back to your own territory. You're going to be the sole representative for your company. Don't let them down. Now, as a graduation present, Bob, I'll answer that question you've been asking me for the last 3 days.
Well, that's how you do it. Oh, Pete.
And remember, that's a space secret.
Yes.
Okay, Bob Michaels. Your customers are waiting out there for you. Take command.
Thank you, Captain Schirra.